Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Traverse the Stars podcast. How are my loyal listeners? Thank you for your continued support. As always, hit that subscribe button, everybody. We have an amazing show for you all because boarding the mothership is James Aquilone. He's the writer and editor of Shakespeare Unleashed, now on Kickstarter. Now come join me as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Mr. Aquilone. Thank you so much for coming to the Traverse the Stars podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, totally my pleasure, sir. I look forward to talking about your anthology.
Yes, we have, well, it's actually two books. It's actually a prose anthology and a comic book.
Very cool.
It's
So, I always start with a question of inspiration. So, what inspired your love for writing and who are your earliest influences?
It was probably when I was like a baby, practically. I just love books, and I love comic books. So I always had books around me, and I was always obsessed with books, loved going to the library, loved going to bookstores. That's really like the only thing I cared about. So it was inevitable that I would be a writer. And basically it's like, I love books. So I know if I, publish books and create books, I know I would make like cool books. And so far, all the people have agreed.
Well, I'm glad they actually are enjoying it. I will say, as an English teacher, your newest anthology, Shakespeare Unleashed, hits me right in that nice spot where I'm just like, this is fucking cool.
Okay.
And it's definitely something that an English teacher can be like, all right, I can buy into this book. This sounds awesome. So, what inspired the creation of Shakespeare Unleashed?
I guess I could say an English teacher because it was my senior year in high school that I was assigned Hamlet, and I was assigned it on a Friday, and I finished it on a Sunday, which is probably unusual for any high school kid. Usually I didn't read any of the books, but something about it that I loved. And ever since then, I've been reading Shakespeare. I really started reading Shakespeare after high school. So really, once I got out of school, then I started getting into Shakespeare and all the classics.
So, important question, which play is your favorite of Shakespeare's?
Hamlet.
Hamlet's your favorite? All right, that's a good choice. My personal is Macbeth. I absolutely love Macbeth. Hamlet is a close second, though, but Macbeth is mine.
Do you teach Shakespeare?
Oh, of course. I teach for my freshmen at Romeo and Juliet. Sophomores get Macbeth. 11th grade gets Julius Caesar. 4th grade gets 12th grade gets Hamlet.
Yeah, I guess that was the curriculum, because I remember having to read Romeo and Juliet, I think my freshman year, and I don't think I read it, and it was my senior year then Hamlet. So I didn't know that was the the progress.
Yeah, it tended to be the standard curriculum, which is a little surprising because I figured I would think that normally Caesar's taught 10th grade, but I find it actually more complicated play than Macbeth for students to understand, because it's a lot more characters, a lot more complexity, a lot more nuance, I think, that Macbeth has. So I pushed that one a little year further, but usually it's Caesar 10th, Macbeth 11th. But I don't know. It's kind of how I do it, but I'm the only English teacher at the school, so I can do what the hell I want.
Okay.
So what was it about Shakespeare that captures your attention?
Well, it was Hamlet. I think Hamlet, especially for me being a Gen Xer, I think Hamlet was very much like a Gen Xer. He was like a slacker, and he was a procrastinator, and he's like, the authority figures telling him what to do, and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think he just comes out of college, and he doesn't really know what to do with his life, and there's a lot of pressure on him, and it kind of goes crazy. So I think, I guess it might be weird to say, like, a Shakespearean character that's like 400 years old that you relate to, but I think in high school, I definitely related to Hamlet.
Well, I think that's why Shakespeare has survived 400 years of stories. I mean, his characters, even in the 1600s, late 1500s, still have weight with audiences now. They're still identifiable. I mean, Macbeth, desire for power, and authority. I think that sticks. The stupidity of young love and Romeo and Juliet. I know enough teenagers to know they do dumbass things for love. So I mean, they hold well. I mean, over all these years, when you were reading Shakespeare after high school, when you didn't, I guess you're doing it for your own enjoyment. Well, so was it Shakespeare, or the modern translation of Shakespeare?
No, it was actual Shakespeare. I had the big giant complete works of Shakespeare at one point, so I was going through that, and Yeah, because you kind of need those books that give you that guide and
Yeah.
tell you what does this word mean, what do these phrases mean, or you can be kind of lost, and you have to kind of be into that too, reading, because you kind of have to keep stopping, going, "Hey, what did this mean?" And
Right,
then
right, right.
read the history. But I was really into that, so yeah, I wouldn't want to read the translate, or like the updated. I
Yeah.
remember in high school they made us do like reenactments
Yeah.
of Shakespeare, and somebody did Hamlet's soliloquy, but in modern language, and it just sounded so weird to me. And I was like, oh, that's not cool. I mean, it's all about the language, so you
Right.
don't want to mess with it.
I mean, my father had when he went to college, he had a complete works of Shakespeare, like this big ass book of it, and he had all the notes he wrote in. So I go back and read Shakespeare. Luckily, I have his notes. It's gonna give me he'll like a summary, and it'll hit like the important points of the play. So instead of like reading the like annotated Shakespeare that my father provided me, apparently from 40 years ago, before he knew he was gonna have me. No, not 40. I guess it'd be 60. I'm old. Shit, it's old.
Yeah.
It used to be 60 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I read it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, and like I said, it really is wonderful, and it is poetry. The words are amazing, and I think kids. I don't think a lot of kids give it Shakespeare the chance that he deserves.
I was looking up right before I launched the campaign. I looked up Shakespeare on Goodreads because I wanted to see what his ratings were, and he doesn't have great ratings on Goodreads. And I know Goodreads is tough.
Yeah,
but they were pretty tough on Shakespeare. I mean, he has like a 3.83 rating. It was like about the same rating that I have. That was funny. And I think Romeo and Juliet is one of the lowest rated plays. And it was a lot of high school kids giving it 1 star because they said they hated it, and they were really mad that they were forced to read it.
Well, then it wasn't being taught properly. Trust Romeo and Juliet. I will say this: I don't think it's a good play, but I love teaching it. It's the most fun play to teach because it is so, from a modern perspective, it's so weird. Like because the way they get they meet each other, get married, and kill all within like 5 days.
Right.
But to teach it in with a little bit of a modern sense of humor, like looking back at it, you can get kids to buy in. They're not trying. Those teachers weren't trying hard enough. God damn
it. Yeah. So yeah, those teachers have given Shakespeare a low rating. So I don't feel bad now when I get 1 star. I can just like Shakespeare gets 1 star. He has a lot. He's got thousands of them.
Well, was it IDBM DMB the movie ones? Give the ratings. He's at 10,000 ratings, so he's not doing too bad for a dead guy. He's still hanging in the top 10,000.
But yeah,
right.
A lot of the people who read them, they read them because it was assigned to them. So that was one of the obstacles we had, because I was worried. Like the book before this was Classic Monsters Unleashed, and everybody loved the classic monsters, and there's a huge fandom there. But one of the things we had to overcome with Shakespeare was that that feeling that it was like it's academic, and it's something that was assigned to you, and a lot of people in school were just like they felt like it was connected too much to the school, and something like it was assigned to me. It wasn't something I wanted to read.
So when you had the writers, we'll go a little more into some of the different writers that were part of it. When they were writing it, how much was important of the language? Was it an attempt to make it feel Shakespearean? Did you keep it once again into a modern feel in your anthology?
Well, I didn't want to scare anybody away when I was inviting them, so I said, you don't have to do it in Shakespeare. I mean, we're not going to do it in pentatonic, whatever. I am better. We do have Ian Doescher, who writes the Shakespeare books for Quark. He did like Shakespeare Avengers and Shakespeare Star Wars, and he does do it in Shakespearean language. So the story he's doing for us is going to be done in Shakespeare's language. But that was not a requirement, because some people did, I think, maybe felt intimidated with Shakespeare, so they passed on it. So I didn't want to make that a requirement with the language. And like I said, that for some, I would say the only barrier to Shakespeare, because the stories are great, is the language and not understanding a lot of it. Because even you can have a word that we use today, but then back then it was used in a different way.
Right.
And I was just saying this to my wife today. It was like, 30 years ago, people wouldn't understand half of what we're saying now because they don't get the references.
Yeah.
If I said something like, I went viral on Twitter, with my meme, you wouldn't understand half of the words in that sentence 30 years ago. And I don't know what people will understand 400 years. They probably wouldn't understand that. So that's the language, that changes. And, and today, all our references are from like reruns and old movies, and a lot of like Gen Z, which you probably know, teaching them, don't understand what we're saying or what we're referring to. So like, Shakespeare, he was referring to things that were going on at that time. He was referring to things from, ancient Greek plays and mythology. So you have to, you have to be up on that. And so it's not like Shakespeare was, I don't think it was tough for the people back then. They weren't seeing it that way, like high language that he was using. It was just normal speech. It's obviously his poetry, but they got the references. And
right.
And whenever you're in English class, it's like, oh no, this line, this was a joke. This was supposed to be funny, and you're like, yeah, well, I don't get it.
I know how that goes. As like I said, teaching my class, I'll make a joke, like a reference joke from my child, and they'll just stare at me like crickets. I'm just like, yeah, that's from the 1990s. I didn't think about it. I was thinking like a week ago, I made a reference to Boy Meets World in class, and from the 1990s sitcom, and people just look at me, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm just old.
Yeah, they really make you feel old because certainly I think anyone like under 30 has no idea what we're talking, especially old TV shows, even, man, it's like, even a lot of the movies, they don't. I got people and go, I've never seen Ghostbusters and stuff. So you and I guess you're like some same generation as I am, and that's all we are about. It was referencing old movies and TV shows. And even for like Gen Xers, we go back to the beginning of movies and beginning of TV. We can refer back to like Abbott Costello and all the movies of the 30s and Honeymooners and I Love Lucy. But now, now kids are just inundated with content too, so they can't kind of be up on everything. But it is sometimes even just for us, and it's just like maybe 20-year gap, and they can't understand us.
No, I agree with 100%. So when you're making Shakespeare Unleashed, it's an anthology horror story. So what is it about Shakespeare that's perfect for translating to a horror genre?
Well, there is a lot that's great, for horror, but also we like to take stuff that's not horror and make it horror. Obviously Macbeth lends itself very well to horror, and Titus Andronicus, and as you know, Shakespeare's filled with magic and witches and ghosts, so that's perfect. But we also wanted to take some of the comedies. I think Ian, that was one of his things. He said, I saw a lot of people took the tragedies, so he took what did he take? Twelfth Night.
Oh, cool.
He's gonna horrify that.
Very cool.
So that was like what I wanted to do with the book too. It was like take stuff that's wouldn't lend itself to horror, and let's horrify that. And then obviously we'll, something with Macbeth, then we kind of have to up the ante and make it even worse than Macbeth, and Jonathan Mayberry's doing The Tempest, so The Tempest is filled with magic, and so that would really lend itself too. So some of it does lend itself, but some of it doesn't. But then it becomes more fun too. Sometimes just to take something that you wouldn't expect.
So who's got Midsummer Night's Dream? Anyone?
Oh, Shauna Maguire.
Oh, very cool. That one had to be done.
I think she's focusing though on Puck.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so it was like they didn't have those subgenres back in those days. It was just comedy, tragedy, and historical plays. So they didn't know anything about horror or fantasy or anything like that. But and I think back in those days they didn't make it. It wasn't a big deal if you had a ghost in the story. It wasn't even considered supernatural. It was, well, we believe in ghosts, so ghosts are part of the natural world. So and I guess they believed in. Well, a lot of people did believe in witches at the time too. So I don't think they even saw a lot of it as being fantastical.
So some of the talent in the comic book is really impressive. You have the anthology, Cullen Bunn, for instance. How the hell did you land Cullen Bunn in your anthology? He's a huge freaking writer in the world of comic books.
Well, the camp, I did a Kickstarter before this, a graphic novel based on the TV show the Kolchak, the Night Stalker, and Colton started following me. Cullen started following me from there because he was like, "Oh, I would love to be part of Kolchak," but at that point, we had already had the full lineup, and it was too late. So I said, "Hey, if he said, "Oh, I'd be interested in working on something, with you, later on." And then I had this, and I says, "Do you want to do Shakespeare?" And they're like, "Yeah." So that just worked out.
So how did you determine who got which play?
I let them pick.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to assign anything, especially when usually with this, because I've done this now, this is my third anthology, and so a lot of the times they already have something that they're already thinking of. So, oh, I always wanted to do Romeo and Juliet. I always wanted to do something with Macbeth. So instead of assigning something, I'd rather just say, here, go at it. And luckily, I've been I've been lucky in that it wasn't like anyone fighting over the same one. Usually, well, I'll go like from writer to writer. I'll have them pick, and then the next person. So it's worked out. And like I said, if you let them, I picked like great writers, so it's a little bit easier. So as I say, pretty much do whatever you want. Just make it horror and just make it Shakespeare, and do whatever you want.
So how difficult is it to organize an anthology of this size? Is there particular order that was important for the story? Is there complications in not just organizing the anthology, but on some level, you're also editing the stories and telling a guy like Cullen Bunn, you need to fix this, must be not the easiest task in the world, because he's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, that is the thing. But you know what? Usually they're very professional, so they're cool with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't usually, micromanage the stories and say like you have to, they're usually pretty good about it. I mean, sometimes an issue comes up, maybe if it doesn't like fit the theme, and you just try to, but you just try to be as tactful as possible. Yeah, because I'm kind of new to editing fiction, but I've been editing, and as a journalist and in broadcast journalism for over 20 years. So I kind of used to that, working with writers. And I think it's a little bit easier working in journalism because they're used to being edited, because it's a job.
Right.
And it's not, and the words and the stories aren't as precious to them. So, editors in journalism can be really brutal. They'll just take your story and they don't care. They'll just rewrite the whole thing, and they might not even get approval from you. They'll just take it and publish it, and you go, whoa, that wasn't even my story. So it can be, but I understand too from the side from fiction that it's a little more sensitive. So you do have to kind of, be a little more tactful. But I found that people are pretty professional about it, and then they don't get. So far, I haven't run into anybody who got like pissed off at me.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure that won't happen. But so we talk about a lot of the writers. So who are some of the artists involved?
Well, we got J.K. Woodard, who
oh Jesus, he's awesome.
J.K. He's awesome. He does all the Star Trek stuff for IDW, and he worked on the Kolchak book. So he did a cover for Kolchak, and he did a story for Kolchak as well. He did one of the stories. So it was very great working with him. So I asked him to do the cover, and he did that amazing cover for Shakespeare Unleashed. And then I said to him, would you like to do some interior art as well? And he said yes. He was really excited about it, and he loved Shakespeare too. So he did a bunch of interior pieces for us that came out really great. And then we said, well, we're going to do a separate comic book. You want to work on that too? So I've been giving him a lot of work. So he did a story. I wrote a Romeo and Juliet story, and he did the art for that. And then we got David Aquilone to work on the comic book. And the artist working with him is Helena Marcellus. And then I wrote another story based on the stage direction Exit Pursuit by a Bear. And Zach Atkinson did the art for that.
Very cool. So since you're doing the Romeo and Juliet version, so how did you horrify it?
Well, it's probably given away, but it takes place after they're dead.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
You can probably figure out what might happen there. So, in Romeo and Juliet, they use a lot of potions and stuff in there that, it doesn't always work out. So the idea is that they use a potion to revive them.
Very good. So you visited the apothecary.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Shakespeare Unleashed is already killing it on Kickstarter, doing very well. So for those who are listening to the show and are probably a lot like me who do Kickstarters, try to do Kickstarter themselves, all of us are probably thinking, how the hell did you do it? How do we put together a winning Kickstarter?
Oh boy. It's a lot of work. I say it's, most of it's going to go in the planning stages and in the months before. I mean, before I even launched my first Kickstarter back in 2016, I was preparing for it for about 4 years. So I was building up my social media accounts and all that because I was going to kickstart my first novel, so I didn't have any following. So that's the most important thing. Make sure you have like a network or something that you can rely on.
So for the listeners, which platform is the most Kickstarter friendly? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram?
I mean, I think that's where your people are. I'm working with a PR person, and he says Twitter, but I've gotten more engagement on Facebook. But I think maybe because I'm more on Facebook than Twitter. So I like Facebook better, and I do Facebook ads, and the Facebook ads have worked for me. And I've never got anywhere with Twitter. Even before I was doing the Kickstarters, I never was able to get much of a following on Twitter. My tweets don't go anywhere. But
I've enjoyed the ghost town of Twitter from time to time. It's just like the one person likes, I'm just like, that's it. It's going out to like 5,000 people, like one person comments.
Yeah, so I've done well on Facebook, and maybe I think it's also if you're older, Twitter isn't for you. If you're probably like you're in your 20s or 30s, or even if you're in your teens, you'll probably, well, if you're in your teens, you probably do TikTok. TikTok would probably work for you better. I'm not gonna bother with TikTok. I'm already on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at our age, when you go on TikTok, it just says no. It's like no.
Yeah, so I'm done with. Yeah, I'll be like the old guy still on Facebook. So yeah, I mean, I would think, but TikTok's huge now. So I mean, if you could get somewhere on TikTok and get an audience on TikTok probably would do better than any of these other platforms. But you have to be like 15.
Yeah, like I said, I think me and you will be the last two on Facebook, like two old guys just like just sending messages back and forth with our stuff.
Yeah, I'm done with hopefully another one doesn't come along that I have to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, TikTok's beyond me.
I tried Reddit. Reddit's kind of brutal. I mean, it's like fascist. Like, I mean, the amount of rules, like you have not engaged enough to post your own stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
On Reddit, you really have to like dedicate yourself. You have to be a Redditor, and or then you can't just kind of jump in there and do anything. So if you're like in a forum in Reddit or the subreddit, they have to know you, and you have to spend a lot of that. That's the other thing is that whatever platform you use, you have to really kind of know it, and you have to be on it for a while. So you can't just jump in to something like Reddit. I've been on Reddit, but I don't really post things. I check things out.
Yeah, I've been permanently banned by so many subreddits for posting my shows to the forums.
Oh,
comic book, like the comic book forum, has banned me on Reddit because there's like you're not active enough to post. I was like, gives a shit. It's a fucking comic book subreddit.
Yeah, I never got it. In the very early days of Reddit, I used to be able to get stuff like even on the front page. But we were like kind of gaming the system with multiple accounts and stuff. But that was that's going back to like 2006.
Yeah.
Reddit was kind of new, and you could push things to the front page, and they would get a lot of engagement when I had a website. But you can't do that on Reddit anymore.
No, at least I've been banned by so many, like, for posting my shows on there. Like I always tweet out the YouTube, and they're like, you can't post there anymore. It's like, fucking losers.
Everybody's that's the thing too. Like when you got a podcast, everyone's got a podcast now, and everyone's got a Kickstarter. So you really have to work, to get through all like the clutter and get people to know. But that's what you're always afraid of. Like you're spamming stuff and people. I've been kicked out of Facebook groups.
Really?
I was just kicked out of a Shakespeare Facebook group.
Oh no.
Well, that's been hard because there are a lot of Shakespeare Facebook groups, but I don't think they're really geared toward this. They're really into going to like productions,
Yeah.
locally and stuff like that. So I don't know if they're necessarily into like a horror anthology. So they're not into me posting about my Kickstarter at all.
Yeah, but I mean, there's tons of indie comic book Facebook groups that just love this
Yeah.
stuff. Sometimes those are self-serving because they're all like, you're supposed to be there to meet the audience, but it's all the writers who are posting their own stuff, and there's none of them are actually an audience member.
Yeah, that yeah. So you always have to find some clever way of marketing your stuff but yeah, you don't want to just be like, here's the link to the Amazon
Hmm,
page and just buy the book. You have to be a
right.
little clever about it. Like just try to give them some kind of content or something that's not like the book. And I've noticed, Facebook has made it really hard now because if you put a link into the post, it really cuts down
Yep.
on the engagement. So just today, I announced a new contributor, and I said to myself, I'm not going to put the link in because I've been putting the link in whenever I announce a contributor, and they get maybe 10 likes.
Yeah.
Let me see what happens if I don't put the link. I didn't put the link in, and I got 50 likes.
Really?
Yeah, because
Huh.
Facebook doesn't like you putting any links. They want you just to put a short post, text-wise, and a picture. If you do that, you'll get good engagement on it. But if you put a link in it, you'll probably like lose 90% of the people who would have liked it if there was no link in it.
So, do you have any idea how many who liked it found where you were for your Kickstarter or whatever later on?
Yeah, well, with Kickstarter, you can do like referral tags on the link. So every time, maybe if you just wanted to see how many people like that post, you can create a tag for that. I mean, I'm usually bad about doing that, but you can do that with Kickstarter. So every link you can customize and then see how many people backed it from that
Hmm.
link, which is good. But like I
Yeah.
said, I don't always do that.
So what are your favorite rewards that you're offering and your favorite stretch goals?
um, well, I mean, I love the comic book. So we got, which is the prose anthology. It's a comic book. We got a really cool T-shirt that Zach Atkinson created just for the campaign, which is like is the three witches from Macbeth, and it's like a fake brewing company called Shakespeare Brewing
That's
Company,
cool.
and the three witches brew. So that was really cool. Um, we got some of the stuff left over from the my last campaign, Classic Monsters Unleashed. We got some cool stuff. We were able to license a piece of Frank Frazetta art
Oh
to go
wow.
with it, and we got some of that left over. Oh, and we got this. We just have a new reward tier from Ian Doescher. He's going to sign Shakespeare Unleashed, and he's going to sign 3 of his Quirks Shakespeare books. So you can pick 3 of them. He's offering the 3 Shakespeare Star Wars books, and he also did Shakespeare Back to the Future, Shakespeare Mean Girls, and Shakespeare Clueless.
Very cool. That's
Cool.
awesome.
So you can get the 4 books from him and all signed.
So you've already surpassed 500 backers. So is fulfilling these backers now going to be your life for the next month or two?
Yeah, I mean, well, this isn't even the biggest problem. I have the campaign from before is with the Kolchak. We had 2,000 backers, and I still have to figure out how I'm going to do that. So it was 2,000 backers, and we sold over 2,000 books. So when I was doing the fulfillment for Classic Monsters, we had almost 1,000 backers and about 1,000 books. But I had the printer send out about 600 of the books, but I still had to get like 400 books delivered to my house. So they just dropped like this huge pallet of books in my driveway, and I had to lug them all, and the whole house was filled with boxes of books. And then
Nice.
my wife and I, which she's still complaining about, she's upstairs probably. Oh, I know. But yeah, that took us like almost 2 months just to send out the other 400 books and the other rewards. So I either need more workers or more wives.
Wow, be careful how you say that. Come storming down right now, be like, what the fuck did you just say?
Yes, I'm gonna need a team for Kolchak. I probably have to get a storage space because no way I'm gonna be able to fit all those books. So I'm not doing another Kickstarter until at least next year, until I get the Kolchak books out and then get Shakespeare Unleashed out. And I hope to get Shakespeare out to backers by at least April. So April is Shakespeare month because he was born in April and he died the same day, right? April 16th.
Oh, very cool. So for our listeners, the campaign is active now. What is the date that it ends?
It ends next Thursday at 1 minute before midnight, so July 21st. So we have from in a couple of hours, it'll be exactly 7 days.
All right, very cool. Hopefully our listeners find the link will be in the notes. Our listeners find the link. Get yourself a nice Shakespeare book. I know I think I'm going to be getting one for myself because it sounds awesome. So thank you so much, Mr. Aquilone. You're a fantastic guest, and thank you for making a book celebrating Shakespeare.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Maybe you'll teach it one day.
That'd be pretty cool. Hey, if that gets them interested, why the hell not?
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
If I actually teach, I can then have the school buy the book from you.
Wow, you can buy hundreds of copies. Yeah. Thank you.